you're out there, you're riding, you're having a good time, and taking in the outdoors.
The fight isn't over. The fight is just beginning.
What's going on, guys? So today I'm testing the 2022 Beta 200RR. It's 190 cc's, oil injected. It's probably one of the funnest bikes I've ever ridden.
What's going on, guys? This is Carl with the RacerRed channel. I'm doing a ride on the 22 Beta 200RR. This thing has great torque. It feels real light and nimble. Suspension feels nice. The bottom end on this bike feels great. The torque is just out of this world. Definitely feels light. Another cool thing about this bike is it's pretty much road ready. It's got a horn, a brake light, and all you would need to do is put a mirror on it and you're good to go for riding this thing on the street. Let's see if I can beep the horn. Oh. Oh yeah. That's in case a wild bear gets in your way, you can just beep at it. Just the fact that it has so much torque as a 200 is pretty cool. You rev this thing up after bottom and mid-range. It hits up on top, a little bit reminiscent of a 125, hits real hard. Just has a good hit to it. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I just actually like that. For the hard enduro rider, you have that bottom and mid. But when you want to get out into the flowy stuff, you are definitely able to let it scream, unlike a lot of the other bikes nowadays that are meant to be a little too linear for just having that top end hit like this does. This thing runs. This thing runs. This bike is rocking the Sachs front and rear suspension. The front fork is a 48 millimeter open cartridge, fully adjustable Sachs fork, which feels really nice. Has really good feel right off of idle. Just amazing feel right off of idle. This might get a little bit gnarly. I know for sure this is one of the gnarlier canyons in here, so I wanted to test out and see how this bike does in this kind of situation.
The 2022 Beta 200RR feels a lot lighter, a little bit smaller than a regular bike, but you also don't feel like you're compromising in the horsepower department. It has a hydraulic clutch and hydraulic front brake, both of which have excellent feel. The headlight is always on and it works great. This is one of the few bikes where I think the headlight really highlights the front of the bike. It has a great style and great looking front end.
As you guys can see, the red color on this is reminiscent of like Ferrari red. It's just a beautiful red color.
This bike has a throttle position based oil injection system. It seems to work flawlessly and it burns extremely clean. It has 2 ignition modes. The rain mode will actually retard the ignition so that it has much less power, This would be good for maybe a beginner rider. The other mode is completely uninhibited and gives you the full power and torque of the bike. This is the mode that the bike will default to if anything happens to the electronics.
This bike has Nissan brakes, front and rear, which they both feel amazing. That coupled with the Sachs suspension, when you go into corners under heavy load, it has a nice balanced feel to it. You don't get that twisting effect that you do on a lot of bikes. This bike is carbureted, comes standard with V-Force 4 reeds, and is oil injected. The oil injection usually lasts about 5 tanks, they say, but from our experience so far, this bike has not been using hardly any oil. It's very efficient. And when you're riding it around, you really don't smell any oil. There's not a lot of splooge coming out the exhaust. It rides more like a 125 up top, though. It really, once it hits top, you're going for a ride. But I like it this way because out on the trail, even if you're on a faster section, you can use the top end of the bike and it likes to stay up there. Much like a 125 or a motocross bike, it likes to stay up on top. Once you get it up there, it really revs out well.
It has an 18-inch rear wheel and a 21 front. They both are Excel rims. And new for this year, they're using Maxxis Enduro tires, which I'm not a big fan of. I found that they break traction a lot, and I was just not a fan. The 6-speed transmission seems to do really well. It's gapped perfectly, and in every situation that I've taken it in, it seems to work really well. This bike does not come with a backup kickstart. I wish it did. Most manufacturers have gone away from having a backup kickstart whatsoever. And the e-start is so reliable now that you really don't need it, but it is nice to have. If you do want a kickstart, they have a spot where you can install an aftermarket Kickstarter, which they sell separately. One of the coolest things about this bike is that it is almost street legal. All you have to do is add a mirror to it, and you're pretty much set. This bike has a horn, a brake light, and those are really the two main things that you need. The headlight does have high and low beam on it as well. These small bore two-stroke bikes are just so fun in comparison to most other bikes, really. Even when you compare it to something like a 250 or 300 two-stroke.
Alright, so the only thing I'm not a fan of so far on this bike is the rear tire. Rear tire sucks.
The feel of the bike is just so nimble and playful on the trail that it really reminds you of the smaller, like a 125 or something like that, but then you bring it down into the lower RPM, and I don't feel that it's at a disadvantage when compared to a 250, really.
There's neutral.
I don't think you would have trouble making it up just about anything. The front fork I found has really good bottom resistance, so I was hitting a lot of whoop sections and kind of face planting the front end onto the face of some of the whoops, and it did not bottom. Actually handled it very well, stayed really smooth and straight.
At speed, the suspension feels real nice. It's real dry out here. I'm glad there's rain coming in. Not a fan of these tires, man. Put some good tires on this though. This bike is so sick.
Anyways, guys, I appreciate you watching the video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. That definitely helps keep my channel alive, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.